Hello.
Hello, Mr. Tillman, Shell. It's nice to see you here on Zoom.
Yes.
And since it is 1 o'clock, I think we can start, and I believe more people will join us in a minute. And I will just give a short introduction in Serbian, and then we will switch to English again. Drage kolege, članovi BDS-a i svi koji ste se prijavili za današnji webinar, hvala vam što ste tu. Forma webinara se nastavlja. Ovom prilikom bavit ćemo se temom chatbotova veštačke inteligencije, dakle za baštinske ustanove, kako rade, kako bi trebalo da rade i kako će raditi. Danas imamo veliko zadovoljstvo da je predavač na današnjem webinaru gospodin Tillman Shell, osnivač i izvršni direktor kompanije About Something, prvog zapravo chatbota na svijetu za biblioteke. On je jedna interdisciplinarna ličnost, kakvo je i savremeno bibliotekarstvo, dakle advokat, istoričar umetnosti i već iskusni predavač u oblasti veštačke inteligencije. Današnji webinar biće kao što je najavljeno na engleskom jeziku. Pozivam vas da budete aktivni, da postavljate pitanje našem predavaču. Za to možete se uključivati kada dođe vreme za pitanje i odgovore, a naravno možete slati pitanje i u chatu. Tu je i sekretar društva Nikola, on će moderirati ta pitanja i pomoći će nam u tehničkom smislu u vezi sa svime što bude potrebno. Sada se ponovo prebacujemo na engleski jezik. Now we are switching into English again. So I just gave our participants a small introduction of your work and who you are. And please now, floor is yours. You can continue if you want to say something more about yourself or just to start with the program. Thank you.
Thank you. I will. It's always surprising for me when I listen to a European language that I don't speak any word of. So I understood my name, I understood about something, but I didn't understand the rest. So sorry for that. Yes, but as I will show you in the world of AI, language becomes less and less of an issue. So I'll dive right into it. I'll share you my screen, and then I'll begin with the presentation. 1 second. All right, so now you should see my screen, and now I go to the presentation. All right, so you should see my presentation now. So the title, of course, is known to you. It's AI Chatbots for Cultural Heritage Institutions and how they work, how they shouldn't work, and how they will work. The last question, of course, is the most interesting one, and let me at the end give you a bit a view into the future. All right, so the first thing is, why do we do chatbots? This of course is a bit propaganda, but still, if you ask young people under the age of 25, they use more ChatGPT than they use Google. And depending, we had, let's say, an informal survey. There are some who stopped using Google at all and only use ChatGPT. That means that from our point of view, and also if you see all the statistics about it, that from our point of view, search, or at least finding of literature, for example, will be replaced to a large extent in the coming 2-3 years by chatbots. And this is actually why Google and Facebook and Windows, Microsoft put so much money into it, because they're just afraid that they lose the contact to the future. And that, of course, the search being the main entry port to the library collections has serious repercussions on, I'd say, the library industry. Is that I think very soon you will see, and if you're a school library and if you're a university library, you're already seeing people asking why do we still have to search for something when a chatbot can give us an answer. So this is why we're doing it, and this is why also the reason why the Berlin libraries, who were our partner in developing that, commissioned us to do it. So this is part. So this is already part of the future. Search will, of course, stay with us, especially if you go to science. But if you just browse, if you search for something and you don't really know, chatbots are the future. I'll show you some examples live with our chatbot later. Who am I? I studied law. I used to be a lawyer in a former life. I also studied art history and used to be an art historian in my former life. And now I'm a panelist and lecturer on AI. So you can see life can have interesting twists and turns. And the AI part is not the least the most fascinating. I did a lot of things. It's very boring in the end to look back. But it's part of the presentation. So we have already, there's one thing, we built this bot for libraries, of course. But the integration can either be actually very easily with the libraries. So to set up, it took us about 2 hours to set up a bot with a library. But also what we can do, of course, is integrate with the library management systems. So Koha, Detronic, and Aztecs are Germans. Axial is very international. Also, we are connected with Kulturconnect, which is the consortium of all Flemish libraries. So once we are there, it's very easy to set up. So, and I know that in Serbia, there are probably other systems. So if a library is interested, we are very happy to talk also with the library management systems to do an integration, because if we have an integration with a library management system, we do not have any effort or very, very little effort in setting up an individual library, which makes it much cheaper, which is in the interest of everybody, I guess. All right, let me start with terminology. So what are we talking about? So we have one bot, but the bot can do a number of things which are very different. So you have a recommendation bot, which which recommends you a book or a film or a piece of music. And you can ask the bot, I'm bored, or something in the style of Hemingway, or this red book with a red cover that I've seen in the shop. In theory, all this can be answered by the recommendation bot. And the red cover is a bit difficult because, of course, the bot needs to know that a particular book has a red cover. But if it has this information, it will find this. The second thing is the service bot. So as a library, for example, and if you have a bot, we started with a recommendation bot, but very soon we realized that people not only ask about books, but they also ask about opening hours. So about 3 weeks after we went live in June 2024, we added information about opening hours, about cafeterias, about the when you return a book late, how much that costs. So the bot that we have live, the bots that we have live answer these questions as well. What we have also done, which you cannot see because it's internal, is a knowledge bot for library internal purposes. So if a new person arrives at the library to work, nobody really has time to explain them everything. Also, their press releases or their rules and all of this you can put into a knowledge bot, and then for internal purposes, you can ask, what is the rule when somebody returns a broken book, something like that. And finally, there's the media bot, which for university libraries is the most interesting thing. It's which is really not to talk about books like the recommendation bot, but with the books. So you provide the bot with all with the whole book, and then of course you can ask anything about this particular book or a body of works. So you can ask the whole. So if you want to know when Schopenhauer was angry with Hegel, which was quite often, and then you can and you have all the works of Schopenhauer in the bot. You can ask him where was Schopenhauer angry with Hegel, and include the footnotes where exactly, and then you probably get a very long list of things where Schopenhauer is angry with Hegel. And all these, of course, this can all be made in one bot, but they have different challenges. So, for example, the media bot is also very, of course, very important to make sure that the copyright is with the libraries. So it's actually the media bot is mostly a licensing question. The service bot, you have up-to-date data. So if the opening hours change and the bot doesn't know, then people stand in front of the library in front of closed doors. So that would also be annoying. So any of these bots has different challenges. All right. So how do these bots work? So this is a very this is an overview, a very detailed overview about the two aspects of it. I just provided here in the presentation, so you can look it up later. I made a short version of it, which is pretty much the same, just summarized. The black box below is the input of the metadata in the vector database. So vector database is basically the database where we store all the information that we receive from you, the library. So what happens, for example, if we set up a bot, is that you send us a Mark21 file. We turn the Mark21 file into vectors, which are numerical representations of this information. If that is too technical for you, I've done webinars about that before. You can look that up. I think for the purpose of this webinar, it's enough to say that we turn the information of Mark21 that you provide us into a list of numbers, a very long list of numbers, which contains all the information in the Mark21 file. And we store that in a server that is hosted by us. And there the information lies, and then it's used for the conversations. So you have a user, he asks the bot a question. This question is then also turned into a vector, so actually in a long list of numbers. And what happens then is that we take this long list of numbers of the user question and all these vectors, long list of numbers in the vector database, and see which one is the most similar. And the most similar is then the answer to this is probably 30 books or so, which are very similar. And this is sent to the large language model, so to ChatGPT in essence. And ChatGPT takes the search result, turns it into natural language, and sends it to our bot, and the bot provides the answer. So this is really a bit simplified the workflow. So we have the Mark21 files in a database as vectors. The user question, I'm bored, what shall I do, is also turned into a vector. This vector is compared to the vectors in the database. The result is sent to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gives you an answer. We'll have a very practical example of this workflow in just a minute. So this is the technology. How can we work? What can we do with this technology? Why is a chatbot so much more, at least and for a number of use cases, so much more interesting than just regular search? I think the first thing that is really interesting is more mental. Is that if you do a search on Google or in your web interface, you pretty much have to know what you're looking for. So the better the search term is, because it's an algorithm who does keyword matching, the better the search result will be. The chatbot actually doesn't care if you're unspecific, if you write something wrong. Either he understands you or he will just ask you back, what do you mean? So this approach is just you can be very unspecific in approaching your search to information. It's also one of the common misunderstandings of libraries when they work with AI and with AI chatbots. They expect that it's kind of a search with AI. So it's kind of a search and it talks. This is not what it is. AI is really a very different technology based on probability. I'll show you and I'll explain in a bit. and it's not a specific algorithm that returns very specific keywords as a result. So the reason for that is that AI doesn't work with an algorithm who finds the best matches. AI works with probability. So how does AI really work? So AI pretty much took all the information that's freely available in the internet, and I mean all, and stores it in a huge, let's say, model. That's what's called a model. And based upon this, it can calculate the most probable ending of a sentence, or the most probable sentence, or even the most probable paragraph based on the preceding paragraphs. Let me show you. We have, for example, you put into the chatbot the phrase, "the cat chases," and say, and ask the bot to finish the sentence. The bot will then go into this vast work, a vast collection of data it has, and check it and see what has been asked before, or what, where there are phrases that begin with "the cat chases," and calculates the probability of the continuation of the phrase. So the cat chases a dog, not so probable 5%. The cat chases the mouse, very probable 70%. The cat chases the squirrel if we're in the countryside, quite a probability. The cat chases the boy, not even. And the cat chases the pink elephant, not at all. And so it will probably answer "the cat chases the mouse." But it could also answer "the cat chases the squirrel," only with a 20% probability, but still, you never know. Or even the dog, very unlikely, but it can happen. That is exactly the reason why, for example, when you ask our bot a question and you ask it like 3 times, actually in the best of cases, you get 3 different answers every time you ask it to. And this is also what makes it so human, that in the moment you always get the same answer with the same words for the same question. You have the feeling of talking to a machine. The point that it's always different makes it feel human and natural. Funny when I created this presentation, I tried to the AI Midjourney in this case, to create an image of a cat chasing a pink elephant. It was impossible to do. So all the images, and no matter what style, no matter what prompt, no matter how I did it, it was always the elephant chasing the cat. Why is that? And this is actually another limitation of AI. If something is not in the training data, if on the whole world there is no sentence "an elephant chases a cat," and a cat chases an elephant, the AI will not be able to do it. So to everybody who thinks that AI is going to rule the world, or will destruct mankind, or will write the Nobel Prize winning novels, this image is a very good example why, at least for now, it doesn't work, because what's not in the training data anywhere in the world will not be the result of the answer of an AI. And that was actually the reason why there's 0% probability that I can make an image of a cat chasing an elephant, because obviously nobody in the whole world, all these billions of people, ever created an image of a cat chasing a pink elephant. And so you don't get it. And so, there's a lot of room for originality and for great novels to arise in the future, because AI is just a probability machine. It's not very original. All right. Second thing, and then actually I promise you I'm going into the flesh of things and demonstrate you stuff live. I told you about the similarity search, so that when you have a user question, the user will this question will be coded, so to speak, in a long list of numbers, and compared to our database with also a long list of numbers to find the most similar result. So you have, for example, a work of I'm very unoriginal here, Shakespeare, and you say, I want a work of Shakespeare. And then it looks, a work of Shakespeare, it looks in the database about all the numbers that are, represent Shakespeare. And it returns, or actually a complete work of Shakespeare, let's say. And what happens quite frequently, less frequently because we worked on it, but which is one of the problems of AI, is that the most similar thing to, let's say, the most current edition of the complete works of Shakespeare in Serbian is the first edition of the complete works of Shakespeare. So it's very hard. Which is actually in the logic of the artificial intelligence very obvious. So if I say, I want to have the most similar thing to the thing I'm telling you, the most similar thing is the same thing in another edition. And if it comes really bad, what happens also is that the information given by a librarian about the 5th edition is way more elaborate than the information given by the librarian for the current edition. And then the bot thinks, okay, I'll take the one with the best information and with best metadata, which is the 5th edition, and not the most current edition, which with inferior metadata. Which also is logical, and also actually you can ask yourself, don't I want the one thing that has the better metadata? And so here you see there starts actually in our daily work the thing, what do we really want? And so a lot of things that we do in the bot and that you see are conscious decisions of the people creating the bot. Example, if you have travel guides, of course, the most important travel guide is the newest travel guide. If you have a scientific work about a particular piece of art, you probably want the works of the most prominent art historian who lived 60 years ago, and not kind of the PhD thesis of a student of last year. So how do you tell the bot what's more important? The actuality, so the more recent work, or the work of a more important art historian? It's not so easy. So it's really a decision to be made. And if you don't tell the bot how to solve this issue, it will find its own way to solve the issue. And actually, in our experience, too, most of the time in very satisfying ways. But this is an issue. I'm telling you these examples to try to get into, the bot is just a human with a very particular way of thinking, and you kind of have to. It's like if you have a new employee in your library, and you try to have to understand the new employee, where he's coming from, what the education level is, and coming from there, you have to teach this librarian what he or she needs to know. And it's actually the same with AI. You have to teach them what they're supposed to know. Okay, so now this is enough talk. I will share you my screen. So this is our backend. So this is live. So you see a number of bots here, and you see a bot that we put on for Bogdan. This is it. Actually, maybe I show you something more. Let me just see. So I showed you in the beginning this image. Let me see if I find it. How this data, the Mark 21 data, comes in our vector database. So what we do is we go here, and actually this is something we created from the Mark 21 file. So this doesn't look at all like a Mark 21 file. It looks like a summary. And this is what an importer of us did. So basically we turn the Mark 21 file into this. And this then, this whole thing is then sent. So this here, what you can see here, is then sent as a block to a large language model, to the AI. And from this, we get a long number which represents this whole text. So if a user comes, this is so-called embedding. And if a user comes and asks something, He doesn't get a search that looks for experience or I don't know, AI chatbot, but he gets it is searched for this whole text, including all the context in this text. So this is actually what makes AI so powerful, that it doesn't look for, you know, words, but for the whole context around the words itself. So this is how it looks in our backend. So now we go to the chatbots. So these are a number of chatbots that we're running. This is the Serbian chatbot that we're running. And what you can see here, here are the people who are allowed to use it. So it's for internal testing. This is the model. I don't know if you've heard about all the different models, GPT-4, GPT-4.5, GPT-01, GPT-0, I don't know. So you can just basically type the model in that you use for your bot, and then it works. It's actually, here are some very performance and money questions involved. We use 4O-Mini because it's the best money performance relation. Also, you have to be careful because these are the so-called prompts. These are the commands we give to the bot. So you are a hateful AI recommendation assistant for a library, extending classical search feature by recommending items from your catalog. And then you can see, I don't know, explain you cannot provide specific branch locations if they're different libraries. In this setup and other setups, it works. Entry, each catalog entry has a link ID. This is the link ID. And here you can see, so actually Bogdan's library management system is Cobis. You can see this here. So this here is the link to the entry of a particular work in Cobis. So I'll show you how that works out. So this link will be different for every library, because depending on where they have their data available. So here's, for example, the example for travel guides that I've given you. Travel guides should always be recent editions, but for novels, it's less critical. You know, if you want novels, you might have, you know, great authors who are a bit older and not the most recent one. So, and these are actually all these commands that we give to the bot to tell him what to do and what not to do. How does that then look like? And now comes, you know, the fascinating part, I think. So once we have done all this, actually there are some other things that you can actually do. So for example, here, that means I'll show it to you in a second. If I answer in English to a Serbian question, please continue in English. This is let's say the creativity that we allow the bot in its answers. These are the number of search results it is supposed to get from the database. So for example, here we search 20 search results from the database and allow the AI to pick 5, which it takes from the 20 to then recommend. So all these things you can do here. And then if you have done it well, you get a good conversation. So this is our test backend. So this is actually now, as you can see, it's in Serbian. I don't understand any of it, but that is not a problem. Could you please translate into English? And that works with pretty much any language. So what can I recommend to you today? All right, so I'll make it a new conversation, and I thought about some questions. Actually, if you want, you can also tell me some questions in the chat. I'll ask, who is the most important Serbian writer? Which is, of course, always an interesting question. Let's see what he can do with that. Okay, I don't understand Serbian, but I think this is a name, Ivo Andrić. Okay, and I'll ask it, can you recommend some works of Ivo Andrić? As you can see, the C is so. And here comes actually the recommendation. A collection of stories set in value, capturing the essence. So other than just a search result, it provides also a summary of the book. And then, of course, you have seen in the prompts that it provides a Cobus link to the book. Now I click here, ta-da, and now I think I'm in Cobus. And judging from the author's name, actually looks correct to me. All right, so that would be that example. So I'll go back to the chatbot. So this is one example. So actually you can ask him who's the most important writer and then get books from this writer. This is something that has never happened before like this, I think, in search. I can do total random things. I am totally bored and depressed today. And if you think that is funny or far-fetched, you should see our feedback form for the Berlin libraries. Yesterday, we got a feedback, you know, I wanted to have this homework. It was probably a very young person. I had this homework about Catherine the Great in Russia. And by the way, I also wanted to have a music playlist for my phone. That was the prompt, and actually his answer in the feedback form was, yes, I think the works for about Catherine the Great that you were recommended were quite good, but you really fucked up the playlist of music that I wanted to hear during my work. So you get everything. And so I'm bored and totally depressed. There may be even more people who do that. So, you know, this. First of all, the bot feigns some or pretends to be has to have empathy. You know, he's sorry. Perhaps some music. I don't know actually if Bogdan has some music in his library collection. Some uplifting music. Let's see what happens. Okay, again, I don't understand a word. Musica sounds like music to me. So I go to this link. And I hope this is music. So, you know, it can do that. So it's, you know, I'm depressed. I hear music of Bazar the Kudasat. Sounds Turkish in a way. And I hope it will lift me up, you know. So this is another example of how you can actually interact with the bot rather than just throw in some keywords. Last example, what did I want to say? Okay. Harry Potter, one of these things that, you know, is not high literature, but gets borrowed very often. I am interested in works of Harry Potter, in works similar to Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Make me a list of 5 recommendations and compare them with, say, I don't know, 4 criteria. Let's see what it does. Okay, it asks, it's not so sure, so it asks me back. Are you looking for some recommendations that similar themes? Similar themes. Ha! And now we have the problem that I've just shown, that I've just talked about. So it makes a nice list, comparison criteria, themes, magic creatures, target audience, style. Actually, fantastic beats and where to find them, informative, fun. And then Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix, darker, is actually quite nice, you know. And then here an adventure level, moderate for fantastic beats, is actually quite funny. But I'm also kind of, I want to have similar works in the style of Harry Potter and not really, you know, just other works of J.K. Rowling's or just even Harry Potter's. So I consider that a reasonably well answer, but not really, it's a novel, yeah, true. I consider that Fair enough, but I don't think this is a perfect answer. And now comes, actually for me, comes the surprising part, because I will take this question, because this bot for Bogdan was set up, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. And of course, we always update our prompts. So it's actually a never-ending learning curve. And what I will try is to use the same question with a more recent bot. Let's take the Universidad Católica de Uruguay. And we'll ask here what happens. Okay, it's Spanish, but I asked the same question. Or maybe before I ask the question, let me just show you something. Chatbots with RAG. I will be quick. Where's Uruguay? Here's Uruguay. I've just shown you the prompts. Here, the prompts look completely different. This is actually, they're similar, but we put them in XML style, if somebody of you are familiar with it. So basically, we formatted the commands that we give to the bot, and we highlighted the ones that are really important for us. And we noticed that this has an influence on the quality of the results. So this is why I'm hopeful that actually in this conversation, it will be a bit more precise. So actually, I didn't try that before, so I will be as surprised as you are, if you're surprised at all. And I'm quite curious. Okay, ask me back too. Actually, this is prompted. So we told the bot, if you're not sure about the answer, ask back. Similar elements of adventure and young protagonists. And let's see whether we get, again, other Harry Potters or similar works. Aha. So here we get, I just saw Antoine Exupéry. So here you don't have J.K. Rowling anymore, but Principito is Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So it's actually a fantasy thing. Terence H. White, I don't know. Arthurian legends. Nice. And probably because I said adventure. And the quest is for knowledge. Can you make a table that compares these works? All right, here's the table. And then I go to here. And then you can see, actually in Uruguay, they have a safety thing here. And in a second, this is actually Koha in the background. Here you have the work. So this is how the bot really works. If there's any other sentence that I should try with the Serbian bot, you can tell me now. Otherwise, I'll just. So to summarize, so all these examples I've gave you, and there are many more, are examples of how different actually the communication with a bot is to communication with a search. Here you can ask it to make comparisons. You can just be bored. Actually, you can also ask questions. Maybe let me ask one more questions because it's so fun. And actually, it's one of these questions. Where's the Serbian one? So new conversation. I'm again greeted with in Serbian, but I will answer in English. And I say, I am interested in novels playing in the times of Ottoman conquest in Serbia. A strong female characters preferred. I always do this with German history, but now let's see what the Serbian history does. Fascinating. First of all, I get positive feedback. That's always good if my ideas are fascinating. Do it. I just saw already remarkable Serbian women who made significant impacts in history. All right. Again, I can't read anything, but you get the idea. So, and this is like a really different way of approaching books and films and music than with search. All of these things search cannot really do. So this is how it's supposed to be. And it's steadily evolving. And by the way, we have a free test bot. I'll come to that in the end. It's especially evolving because we get very detailed feedback by all the people who use our bots. And we're constantly improving. And a lot of things can do through the prompting I've just shown to you. And if you, by the way, these are our live statistics. So we can check the interactions. This is actually, I don't know which bot. This is the FIP bot. This is the Berlin bot. So we can actually also follow user interactions with this, and so and see how the users interact. We can, if you want, we can also see what the users asked and what their borrowing history is, and have that as a part of the information of the conversation also. So this is really something we can do. All right, let me return to the presentation. Nope, that's the wrong. No, that's also the wrong. I think here it is. All right, so I've shown you this. And now comes, so what we have just seen is a bot for the library. Bogdan asked me to show you another very interesting use case that we did with the Met in New York. Because the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York has a library called the Watson Library. The Watson Library has the issue that they have beautiful books about the library collection stuff, but the problem is that the library data and the collection data are not linked. So what we did was we took the Mark 21 files of the Watson Library, took all the free available data we scraped. So we searched automatically all the websites of the Met, created a data set out of that, and linked that to the data provided us by the Watson Library as Mark 21 file. And this is what came out of it. So let me do a new conversation here, start a new chat. So you can select a role. You can, as a tourist, as a child, as a scholar. And of course, depending on how you select your role, you will be talked to in a different way. So conversations with children have smileys and very much positive affirmation. Scholars, of course, are the ones that we want to do. So I'm a scholar, and I'm selecting an artwork. So there are very different ways to select an artwork. You can make a photo and just upload it. You can do a QR code next to the artwork. But since this is a prototype, we just took the IDs that every work in the Met has. Here's an example ID that we just put in. This is actually an image of Caspar David Friedrich. And then it's thinking and it's telling me something. Actually, I can ask something back and have a conversation about Caspar David Friedrich and stuff. I'll skip that. The interesting part for the libraries here, actually, by the way, this is made for an app. This is not a website. This is made for mobile phones. So this is actually also available for Apple, and for this prototype is available for Apple and for Android. But the fun part for libraries is here, show references. So reference, along with the answer to this particular work, we're also searching the Mark 21 files in the Watson Library. And so there's actually a work in German in the Watson Library discussing the originality of Caspar David Friedrich. So what that means is that you can actually take cultural institutions like, I don't know, even a film festival or a museum, and link that to the data in your library. And actually combine those two in an app and have conversations about that. Of course, you can also link the metadata of different libraries. So you can, if you have a library, if you say, okay, this is not in my library, but it's in another library, and even if they have different library management systems, it's not a problem for a bot. So this is really something that actually AI changes. So far you really have problems in combining metadata of different formats and different tables. So you had to do a lot of reformatting signs. And with AI, it's not really an issue anymore. So this is one of these things that where AI can really contribute to new use cases. So now let me go back to my presentation. I said that, I said that, I said that, I said that, I said that. Yeah, and now finally, before I open the question and answer session, I'll show you something which might be of interest to you. I mean, I promise myself not to make too much, or not to make any sales things. And this is not really a sales thing; it's an information. This is our website. And actually, what we do in the moment is that we have a test bot, which usually costs 200 euros, and it's for free. So you can take your library data, your Mark 21 file, send it to us, and basically fill in this form and send us the file, or do it with an email. We don't really care. And then for 4 weeks, you can play around in the way I just played around and showed you how to play around. And then if you want it, of course, you can license it. But for 4 weeks, you have the chance to play around. And I think this is the okay. I'm stopping this part of the pitch, but I think the real issue with AI is you need, and I think I hope I've given you a bit of a feeling. You need to play around and make experiences in order to understand what library can, what chatbots can do and cannot do. And only if you have this feeling, you can actually adapt what AI has to offer to your specific library and to your specific use case. So I think it's true for everything. You only learn by doing, but it's especially true for AI, because, as I said in the beginning, our experience is often that people think that AI is something like a search that speaks. But as you have hopefully seen in the examples I've given, AI is something completely different. It allows you to find things, yes, but the way to do it is just very different. You don't search, you get answers. And I think with this, I'm starting the last 10 minutes of questions. So thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer it. Just write something in the chat. And I can just talk about it. So please let me know if there's anything I can help you with.
Thank you so much, Tilman. It was so inspiring to, first of all, learn about how chatbots work on in a backstage or in the backs, and about this transformation of data that is behind the answers that we have. And especially what was for me particularly very interesting was this kind of comparison with of chatbots and classical search. So now it's much more clearer why what is the real advantage and what is actually that things that during the search doesn't work. And based on that better understanding of particularly young people who are actually, I think, 24/7 on some kind of chatbots are working. So for them, actually, I think that classical internet research and browsing is kind of past. And since the learning about chatbots is doing, I know that we here in the audience have some pretty much experience at AI doers. So I'm inviting all of colleagues to feel free to ask maybe about something that we already heard or something in this field and maybe to open discussion. So colleagues, please, you can of course ask or just write in the chat your questions or comments.
Actually, maybe once, as long as you think about your questions or comments, there's one thing you can, of course, and we do to a limited extent, combine the two. So what we noticed is that if you have, for example, names of persons, and that is maybe interesting for Serbia because it's not so mainstream in terms of data and authors. We noticed that there are some things that are not in the training data of the model. So of course, something like Harry Potter is in the training data of the model, and the chatbot has no problem in identifying that. But for example, we had a Berlin author called Mosolf, who published some very strange works 100 years ago, and this guy was not in the training data of the model. And there's billions and billions of parameters that this model was trained with. And so in the beginning, we had the problem that it was, even we typed in, can you provide us books with Mosolf, of the author Mosolf? And the model was unable to find it because it was not in the training data, and then it was, and then it didn't find it and said, I don't have it, even though we had 5 works of him. So what we did was that we, inside this artificial intelligence logic, we put a keyword search logic, and then the result of the keyword search was fed to the AI in addition to the similarity search, and now it's able to find the Mosolf. So that's this is an example of actually the advancements in AI not only come with a model, so with you change from 4.0 mini to 4.0 to 4.5, but come also with actually workflows you create around the AI. So the second example would be, for example, our language management. So we struggled for months to tell the bot, okay, you greet the person in German or in Serbian, but the person answers in, I don't know, in Bulgarian or in English. And then we wanted to tell the bot, if you answered in English, continue the conversation in English. It was very hard to do for some reason, some logic inside the LLM that we couldn't change with prompts. So what we did was we programmed a function that analyzes that has the only task of analyzing the language of each input. And then if it was analyzed and it has a result, it gives the command to the bot to use this input in the ensuing conversation. You can test that actually in the conversations, because if my input is too short, so if I say just one English word as an answer to a Serbian suggestion, it will continue to write in Serbian because one word was not enough for the bot to find out that it should continue in English. So in all these, so it's actually very easy to insert this bot in your website. So if we have the Smart 21 data, it should take you not more than an hour to have the bot on your website if you are actually in command of your own website, and if not, somebody else is doing your website. So the bot is very easy to do. Mark 21 data on the one end, and there's actually one line of code to put the bot in a website on the other hand. It takes an hour. But what is the real work is to find all these different use cases, language, rare titles, the problem with the different editions of the same work, and then particularly prompt that so it doesn't do things that you don't want. Yeah, so 2 informations. First thing, to have a bot is very easy and very cheap, of course, but it's a continuous work to like onboarding of a new person in your library, to make the bot give the answers that you want. All right, so now it's question time. Really, I think you had enough time to think about it. All right, just explained everything, and you're wiser than before, and we're all happy.
Well, of course, this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel in the second part of the year, as Bogdan said, and I believe that Tilman will share the presentation with us, so we can forward to all the participants.
Okay, so actually, one last thing. I think in the beginning there was 36 people, and we're still 36 people. I take this all with
full attention, yeah.
And then I say thank you, and have fun with artificial intelligence. It's part of the game too.
So, as you said, learning by doing, and a lot of play actually. So
exactly. Yeah, playing is the best way to learn.
Trying things.
I don't know if you've heard some noise in the background. These were two small children, and I can tell you the best way for them to learn is playing too, and they learn very quickly. So playing seems to be a good strategy.
Absolutely, I think in whatever you do, there has to be some kind of playing moment. So it also
where else should the curiosity come from?
Absolutely. So if there are no questions, there are no questions, then we won't let those two beautiful children wait for you much more. Thank you, Tilman, for. There is a question. There is a comment from colleagues.
Lots of thank yous. That's
lots of there's a lot of thank yous. Beautiful, and of course, this was a great opportunity for all of us to hear you live and to make a connection. So I believe that this material from the webinar and everything that we heard today and learned will be some connections for future communications. Thank you. So we are
totally.
Pretty much
here my contacts. If you have any questions, if you're interested in a bot or something, just write me. That's the easiest and fastest thing to do.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tilman.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone who been today with us, and stay up to with all the programs and activities of Serbian Library Association. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.